For me, one of the biggest thrills of homesteading is overcoming challenges by making do with what you have. I met one of those challenges today, and I want to show you how I went about it. Come along with me. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the greenhouse. And for those of you that are just joining us, I'd like to give you a little background information. My husband and I had a dream back in 2005. We wanted to start a farm. Living in a very rural part of Missouri, we did not have access to internet or YouTube. In 2008, the economy crashed and Jay ran out of work here, and we found that he was having to travel more and more. We ended up in St. Louis, in a suburb just outside of St. Louis, with our RV camper because we didn't want to take out a lease. We didn't know how long he was going to have work up there. And we ended up staying for 4 years. I took a job as the activities director for the campground. While in the campground, we received Wi-Fi, and we upgraded all of our television sets and got on YouTube. As we started watching more and more YouTube on the internet, we discovered a whole wealth of information for people who like to homestead. And we realized that there were so many solutions that, had we only known, we probably would have been more successful back in 2005. During those 4 years, we built connections with homesteaders, decided that we were going to return home to our farm to try to make another go at our dream, which we now feel like is actually a calling. For those of you that have been following along with me, you know that I've had a real struggle trying to adjust to learning how to grow things inside the greenhouse. And I haven't so far been very successful, but I've been so busy with other things, I couldn't just focus mainly on the greenhouse. This week, I have focused on it. And as you can see, it's cleaned up a lot from the last time you've seen a picture of it. I've got things better organized, and I actually have electricity out here now so that I can run a fan. And that's definitely helping with keeping the greenhouse cooler. It's still 130 degrees in here. I've used the mulch that I got for free, and if you haven't seen that video, it's my last video. Check it out. I'll put a link here at the end of this video so you can go right on into that. But I used my free mulch to mulch the inside. First I laid down plastic in here, then I put the free mulch that I got from the tree guys down on top of that, and it's really made it a lot more pleasant. I have more of a level walking space. With the temperature soaring at 130 degrees, I realized that even here in April, it's just too warm, the sun is too warm and radiating too much in the space that we have the greenhouse. So I've got to figure out how to shade the sun out from the greenhouse. Right now, resources are limited. We are trying to save up to get the foundation built for our cabin, or maybe even the outdoor kitchen. So I'm trying to make do with what I've got and see if I can make things work from around the farm. I began to look around the farm and see what kind of items I could use that I could shield some of the sun from inside this greenhouse. And here's what I found. This is actually supposed to be a landscaping material that keeps the weeds from growing up in your garden. However, we ended up using part plastic, so I had some of this left over, and that's what I used to cover the greenhouse with. My next challenge was to figure out how to keep it on the greenhouse, and I'll show you how I did that. Remember when I went and got the containers for my container garden? Along with that was a trash can that was full with quite a few smaller containers. But on top of that was a dog leash. And so I took this dog leash and hooked it onto the metal inside the greenhouse and ran it all along the outside of the greenhouse and brought it in at my window at the back of the greenhouse. Then I took some clamps that I had picked up at Walmart. If you don't have these clamps on your farm, you probably should try to figure out how to get some. I have used them for everything. But I took the clamps, attached them to the cloth, and tossed it over the side. That way it would hold it down long enough for me to get the wind side secured with clamps along that dog leash. I realize that this is not going to hold up during a big heavy windstorm, which, by the way, we're supposed to get maybe this evening. I will see how it holds up tonight, and maybe Jay will have some more ideas for me. It is taking away a lot of the sun's rays, but it's still really, really hot in here. I'm hoping that that will cause the seeds to pop up without burning up and burning all the moisture out of the soil before they even have a chance to grow. I'll give you an update when I figure out whether that worked or not. The property that we live on is an old established property, and everywhere there are things popping up this spring that I didn't know that even existed before, because it's only now that I've really actually been well enough to travel around my property. When I was living here, I really was in pain and couldn't get around very much. But now that I'm seeing all of these plants and wonderful flowers, some really old strains of daffodils and irises, and I'm even finding gooseberry patches everywhere. I'm going around and placing flags. Let me show you what I mean. Growing up here by the road and close to the ditch, we're gonna have some loud noises. I'm wearing my headphones to try to keep them down, but you can see here is a patch of randomly growing irises that I never even knew existed. What I'm going to do is place a flag right in the middle, because I don't think that you're supposed to dig up bulbs this time of year. So I'll come back in the fall, dig them up, separate them out, and put them in a safer spot. Down here, as you can see, I have daffodils just down from the irises that popped up. And they were really pretty when they bloomed too. Here's some of the old daffodils I was telling you about. But this place is pretty protected, and I think I'm gonna continue to grow a lot of these kinds of plants in here. So I will be able to probably find these next year pretty easy, and I won't have to worry about them getting mowed over. But look guys, they're in this centerpiece between the farmhouse and where the camper is. There are irises, there's bridal veil, there's even a red bud or two back in there. I was able to actually get starts from the lilac bushes, and you can see right there, let me zoom in. There's some more I could even get and maybe share with some of my neighbors. All over this property, there are what I believe to be gooseberries. Hopefully I'm right about that. I did do the photo check thing and it confirmed that they were, but I have these gooseberry patches everywhere. The little orange flags are going to remind the boys not to cut them down. They're not weeds. Here's another patch. They're pretty close together, so they probably need to be separated out. That's two different kinds of daffodils. If you guys know what those little white ones are called, for sure, let me know. And just to give you reference, right over here, let me turn the camera around. There's the chicken coop. So these are just pretty randomly placed anywhere on the property. Over here you can even see there's some more gooseberries. I went in and cut a rose bush out of that. Over here to the right is where the rose bush is. And you can see how big it was. The ones coming up out of the ground, even to the point that it was killing the tree, as well as that grapevine back there. We've dismantled it too. I have a random patch of mayaples coming up. I wonder if there's going to be any morel mushrooms here. There was an old dead tree that we cleared out earlier. Down by the pond, there's something white blooming. I'm going to have to go down there and investigate that. Probably a plum tree. I don't know if persimmons have blooms on them or not, but I know that there are a lot of persimmons that grow down there by the pond. The red buds on this property are just amazing. If you've been keeping up with our videos, you know that we are working on a nature area, just an outdoor area for us to be with our friends. Last week, me and Jesse went out and marked all the trees that were blooming out as red buds because we want to be really sure we don't want to kill those. We are making some really great progress on that nature area, and it's just a really wonderful place to come and reflect and to settle down and think about what my next step is going to be. So far, the dogwoods haven't bloomed, but I know that there's some out here somewhere, and I can't wait. I put my buckeye tree out here because I feel like this is the kind of atmosphere that it would like to grow, and I've still got it in the pot, so I'm keeping an eye on it. This one's doing way better than the one that I have up there in the full sun. So I think I'm gonna pull them all down here. And if they continue to do well, I'm gonna plant them in our little nature area. Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this video up for now. Remember to smash that thumbs up button on the way out. I will put a link to my last video where I got the free mulch in the bottom of the screen right about now. Some of the seeds that I've been planting in my container garden is starting to come up, so I'm thinking that my next video is going to be about that. And also, I wanted to update you all on the incubator and the chicks. Yes, the chicks did hatch. It worked a whole lot better when I used a standalone humidity and temperature thermometer. I hear Jay pulling in right now. It's time for me to get started on supper. I hope to see you guys on the next video. Until then, love and peace to everyone.